All right, boys. So over the weekend, we had the Lille Regional Championships held in France. This is a tournament that had a little over 500 players. It originally was meant to have a little over 700, I think, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, unfortunately, not all the players could show up. But this was an event won by Simone Savato. I apologize if I'm butchering your name. But this was a team won by this was an event, won by another Tornadus. Now, Tornadus is a mon whose usage is definitely, it's still quite up there. I think Torn is still like a top 5 usage mon. We'll double check that shortly. But yeah, Tornadus is really, really good. This is what I think many people would consider a pretty, standard Tornadus team. I am, pretty used to seeing like a lot of Scarf Shifus, but I do definitely think with some of, the meta uprises that are coming up, I do think, Mystic Water definitely has a place. I will kind of touch on those shortly, but I definitely do think the MVP of a team like this is the Hisuian Arcanine. Now, the main reason why I personally think Hisuian Arcanine is just so incredibly good on these teams is normally when you're going up against opposing Tornaduses, Arcanine is like really a mon that just leads super well into like everything outside of maybe like opposing Urshifu Rapid Strike. And even then, Hisuian Arcanine still has, things you can do to it. Obviously, if you go Terra Normal, it kind of forces them to CC. And if they, go for the CC, then it feels really bad when, you're swapping in things like Flutter Mane. Especially too when you are playing up against, things like, potentially scarfed, Urshifus. But I definitely think Hisuian Arcanine, when paired up with Tornadus, is super, super good into a lot of just Tornadus partners, right? It's really good into things like Chiyu. Also really good into Flutter Mane. Flutter Mane can't really touch it that well. Obviously, it's fantastic into things like Rillaboom. It's pretty good into most of the Ogre Pawns. And it's just a really, really consistent mon. It also pairs up, matches up incredibly well into the Qian Pao Dragonite combo as well. So I do think, Hisuian Arcanine on a team like this is just... It's super good. It really is like, to me, it feels like the glue mod on a team like this, especially as someone who, does play a lot of Tornadus, especially, I play a lot of Tornadus, Urshifu, and Flutter Mane as a team. It really does feel hard running into Hisuian Arcanine, especially too when, you really feel like you are forced to use a mon like, Urshifu Rapid to lead into the Arcanine. And then obviously, people can go for things like, Rillaboom leads that really just kind of mess you up, especially, Grassy Glide, especially when you're running things like Terra Water. Grassy Glide, plus any double up really pressures out the Urshifu, and because of that, I do think it makes dealing with a Hisuian Arcanine incredibly difficult. But yeah, look, this is a really cool team. I'm guessing this is probably booster... It's hard to say. I want to say it might even be booster special attack on this team just because he doesn't have the Icy Wind, which I do think this team would really benefit from. But I could also understand, Shadow Ball is such a strong move, and sometimes, not having Shadow Ball can feel pretty bad. But obviously, I think we all kind of know what the Qian Pao plus Rillaboom combo is with the Urshifu. It's just a lot of damage, if especially also with the Hisuian Arcanine, which is, I guess, kind of the abandoned E-Speed user on this team as well. Qian Pao can really just amp these 3 mons up, especially too when you've got things like Grassy Glide, Aqua Jet, Terra Normal E-Speed. You can really just start doing a lot of damage with priority moves, and then also to speed control, obviously from Tailwind, Rain Dance coming out for your Urshifu, and also keeping your Qian Pao and your Rillaboom healthy with that is also really, really good. But yeah, look, honestly, just a really really well built, consistent Tailwind team here. Really, really well done. Also, Rocky Helmet on Tornadus is definitely, it's really good. It's fantastic into things like into Urshifu as well. Not Ogerpon unfortunately doesn't hit it. But yes, congratulations to Simone here. Fantastic team, obviously really, really good. But I also want to talk about his opponent's team here. Now, this team kind of caught a couple R's for a few different reasons. Now, obviously, you look at this team here, you got the Scarf Urshi, you got the Bender D-Knight, and then you got the Rillaboom and the Qian Pao. Now, the reason why I personally saw this and was like, damn, this team, to me at least, feels like, it feels super, super well built, right? One, obviously, you've got your, your 4 main, physical attackers, right? With really good priority, right? Obviously, you got the Scarf Urshifu, it's a favorite of mine. Terra Water Scarf Urshi paired it with Qian Pao. If you don't resist it, you get in one shot. There's not many things in this game that eat it. Obviously, there are things out there like Water Ogre Pawn, that kind of deal with it pretty well. But also in saying that, this Rillaboom in particular, which by the way is very, very spicy, deals with Water Ogre Pawn very, very well. Now, to me, this Rillaboom was like kind of the star of the show. I do believe this team was bouncing around on Twitter. I'm not sure if the creator put it out there or if people were kind of just talking about it. But this is the Terra Grass Miracle Seed Adamant 252 Rillaboom. This thing with Qian Pao absolutely just runs straight through the metagame. There are not many mons that can take this. Like, I honestly think going forward, Flutter Manes are going to start calcing for this because the last thing you want to do is just get picked up by like a one-shot Grassy Glide. Especially too when, again, there are a lot of mons that don't really want to eat this Grassy Glide, right? Like, you look at this team, for example, obviously, the Urshifu Rapid Strike is going down in 1 hit to that. It does not feel nice having to click your Aqua Jet either. Obviously, this team's like, I guess, kind of bad to, really, judge it off of. But if you look at things like here, the Water Ogre Pawn doesn't want to take it. Flutter Mane doesn't want to take it. Obviously, Urshifu Rapid doesn't want to take it. I mean, you keep looking down here, like Iron Bundle doesn't want to take it. Landorus even doesn't really, appreciate it. So yeah, it is really, really strong. There are a lot of ones that can pick up. And obviously when you pair it up with, things like Power, there are a lot of ones that you can kind of just pick them off in the end game as well. So I do expect to see, the Terra Grass, Rillaboom is really picking up. It kind of makes up for, that missing base power that Grassy Grad lost, and just, it makes it incredibly strong. And this team's priority is just fantastic. But the other thing I kind of want to touch on with this team too is the combo here of Heatran plus Friggraff. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is kind of like two reasons, right? For those who, I guess haven't seen the recent videos, I've been, preparing and playing in locals myself recently. And while, my Tornadus team does feel really good into the metagame, one of the scariest things and the hardest things to deal with right now are the Trick Room teams, right? So, obviously I think we have a look here at the top 8. We don't actually see a single Trick Room team in the top 8 here, but if you scroll down, you start seeing a couple here. You got a Crest team here, paired up with some threats. Not really a hard Trick Room team, but obviously has a Trick Room mode when you're going up against, hyper offense. We have another Crest team here with Ursaluna. I believe there's more. Goth teams tend to always run Trick Room. Does he have a Trick Room on this? I'm guessing it has Trick Room. Yeah, so he has a Trick Room mode there again. Like, obviously, it's not his, his team's not built around it, but there's a few teams running around with Trick Room. We see more here, especially in the top 32, right? Obviously, there's a Giraffe here. We've got the Indeedee Sai spam with the Torkoal, another Indeedee Sai spam. I feel like I missed a Blood Moon Ursaluna that I saw earlier. Maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe it's not there, but, I think we just touched on that team. More Ursalunas here, more Ursalunas here. In the top 32, it really does feel like there's a lot of Ursalunas that, funny enough, didn't actually make it into the top 16, which is actually kind of crazy. But basically, Trick Room is always a threat, right? Always a threat. I played against some incredibly, incredibly difficult Blood Moon Ursaluna teams over the weekend. And because of that, Heatran for me is really on the rise, right? I'm personally a massive fan of Fish, right? Fish is my go-to fire type right now. I've said that a lot. You'll see here, not a single Fish in the top 8. I don't even know if there's a Fish in the top 16, if I'm being honest. Yeah, not a single Fish in the top 16. Do we even get represented? I don't know if there's a Fish in the top 32. Okay, there's one Fish there. I could be blind, but it looks like there's only one Fish in the top 32. I do think Fish is obviously incredibly good into a lot of Trick Room modes, but Heatran itself also is just, it's fantastic, right? AV Heatran just eats basically any Trick Room, right? Whether that be Sai Spam. Actually, I shouldn't say any, because obviously it does lose to our Ursaluna. But yeah, it beats Sai Spam. It has the ability to potentially, beat and go head to head with, things like Blood Moon Ursaluna. And then obviously Giraffe obviously just gives you that other Trick Room mode, which I do think is very, very important. Because again, while we didn't see, like an incredible, top 8 result by a primary Trick Room team here, obviously there's a lot of Trick Room teams floating around in that top 32, which is definitely really scary to deal with. Anyway, moving on from that team here, we have another, relatively standard team here. I believe this is, I don't know if, okay, it's not the same as Jane Beck's team. Actually, it is quite different to James's team. It's actually got the Urshi Dark here. Urshi Dark, double wicked blow. Double Dark stabs here with SD is really, really good. Specs Fluttermane with Trick Room, obviously has that option. He doesn't want to go for it. But again, more Heatran here. Everyone's favorite redirection mon right now, the Water Ogre Pawn. I am really curious as to why this is Sunny Day. I'm guessing that's probably because Fluttermane, I'd guess on a spec set is probably special attack booster, right? And then obviously Heatran, also benefits from it. And Life Orb Heatran, another one. I think it was on this team as, no, sorry, that was AV. Of course that was AV. But yeah, Life Orb Heatran is another one that's been really picking up. But yeah, I personally love Tornadus right now. I kind of was off it for a little bit. I was playing a bit of Roaring Moon, and we do see a Roaring Moon here from Marco Silva. So I am really curious to see that team. Tornadus right now, it's really, really dominant. This one is so good. Like, it does so much, especially with the meta being so offensive. Like, speed control is king. Which is actually kind of crazy that I don't think we saw Scary Face on either of these guys, right? I think it was, yeah, this guy's got Protect and Tailwind, not even any Taunt. And I do believe, Simone was running Taunt on his as his secondary option, correct? Sorry, his last option, yeah, Taunt, Rain Dance, yeah, Liquid Storm. But yeah, so that is, it's cool to see Tornado still being so good. It does suck to me that Roaring Moon isn't as, contested, but I definitely think Roaring Moon's a lot harder to pilot. But I definitely think, both mods have their niches. We do see a Gothitelle in the top 4, though, which I did think was really interesting. But I do think Gothitelle paired up with, things like Urshifu and Rillaboom is incredibly good. Obviously, the ability to trap things in front of Urshifu is fantastic, especially if you do catch things like, Hisui and Arcanines, which can be, very problematic, for these teams that have the Urshi Power Knight, right? So with that, the D Knight plus, Qian Pao here. Also, trapping things in with the Rillaboom as well, especially on a set like this where you are, that Terra Grass Miracle Seed set. So, by the way, again, that's 2 of them in the top 4. And I'm almost certain they are Adamant Max Attack. So, yeah, obviously, I think Gothitelle on a team like this is just fantastic. Basically, you've got these, like, 5 mons that all hit so damn hard on the physical end. And Gothitelle says, hey, you're stuck in here with me. I've got Fake Out. I've got Helping Hand. A lot of these mons are going first, right? You got the Scarf Wrap, Surging Strikes. You know, you've got the normal E-speed coming out here. You know, obviously Chen Power is naturally really quick. Ogerpon, you know, could potentially get off things like SD Grassy Glide. Obviously Rillaboom's, you know, throwing off Grassy Glides. Yeah, just a really, really strong team. Really cool priority team. And yeah, it's also, I don't want to say it's awesome to see Gothitelle here because, you know, Gothitelle can be a very frustrating Pokemon to deal with. But obviously, you know, seeing it get results means that the mon is still pretty damn good. Dude, I'm looking at these records here, dude. Like, people going like 12-2, man. That's crazy shit, dude. Man, they're good players. But you know, another team here, relatively standard once again. You know, we've got the, you know, the Rilla plus Fire Ogerpon. It is actually interesting to see that the Fire Ogerpon is picking up, you know, with the Rilla again, because it really did feel like, especially at like Sacramento, that the Water Ogerpon was kind of like really picking up. And obviously, you know, both of them have, you know, still pretty good usage here, but you know, actually I lied, only 2 Water Pawns and 2 Fire Pawns in the top 8. That's crazy, actually. I didn't even realize that before when I was like taking my notes. There are 4 teams with that Ogerpon in the top 8. I guess, yeah, maybe New Toy Syndrome is actually starting to slowly starting to fall off here. But going back to Maurice's team, you know, he's got the Sugar Berry on his Heatran. I respect it, you know, very good. Obviously very good on a mon that is 4x weak to it. Scarflander, obviously a staple. Seeing Booster Bundle pick up, you know, warms my heart. I love Booster Bundle. I wish it fit on the team I was rocking. But alas, you know, I got to live vicariously through other players. AV Hands obviously still good. I guess I will touch on this here as well. Terra Water on AV Hands is definitely, you know, definitely picking up. Like, it is really becoming, I think, the best defensive Terra on this mon. Like, I was kind of, you know, of the belief that, like, hey, maybe Grass would be best. You know, even like Dragon's pretty good. Obviously Dragon still gives you, you know, weaknesses to Fluttermane, but it patches up a lot of weaknesses, you know, especially to the Ogerpawns and stuff like that. But more Rillaboom. That's another thing too, boys. Look at this Rillaboom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Rillas in the top 8. Like, that is like, is that the same as Fluttermane? There's 4 Fluttermanes in the top 8 and 5 Rillabooms. Dude, that's crazy. Only like 3 Landuruses. Man, like, Regulation E is actually crazy. It is like, it's actually really nice to see that like the 3 mons that were kind of dominating the format, even 4 if you count Ogerpon, are like actually starting to drop off, right? Like, you look at it here, you know, 5 Rillabooms. What did we say? Was it 4 Fluttermanes, 3 Landuruses, only 2 Tornaduses? Like, dude, the top mons are like really kind of dropping off. Not dropping off, obviously they're still there, but they're not like the, you know, the 60-70% usage I kind of expected them to be, you know, in the top 8 in particular. But yeah, Marco Silver's team, I want to look at this, you know, obviously, you know, we see Roaring Moon, we clicked it, boys, you know, oh yeah, the Amoonguss, the DD Moon, I do love teams like this. Perish Song Fluttermane is really interesting. I did not see that originally. That's kind of crazy. I guess there's probably endgame scenarios with a Amoonguss where you can probably just like spore stuff and then perish them out. That's kind of crazy. Okay. But yeah, obviously Roaring Moon, DD, like DD Moon with Shroom is actually really good. Like I've been saying for a little while now, like Shroom is definitely underrated right now. Like, especially if you look at the top 8, right? 1 Shroom. Like, that's it. Marco is the only guy here with the Shroom. Definitely expected to rise up. Again, I think its usage was actually kind of on the rise. I think it was a top 12 mon at this event. Again, we'll pull that up, you know, maybe once we finished up the top 8 here. But definitely Shroom, guys. If you're not using Shroom, use it. You know, I was touching on Trick Room before. Shroom is also just like really good into like, you know, Trick Room. I personally think Dusclops Trick Room is really scary with Blood Moon Ursaluna. Amoonguss can just underspeed, you know, the Ursalunas and just put them to sleep. Really, really good. I love seeing the DD boost the Moon here. Personally, I can't use DD Moon. I'm much better at using the Tailwind. But the synergy with these 2 mons, you know, it's crazy. What does Moon lose to, right? It loses to Fairy types, it loses to Fighting types. Amoonguss, like, resists both of them. What's Amoonguss lose to? Amoonguss loses to, you know, Fire types. Roaring Moon, you know, resist those. And yeah, their synergy is just, it's fantastic. The biggest issue this combo has, I think, is that they're kind of just weak to Qian Pao. But obviously, you know, there are ways around that. Things like Terra Water, you know, DD, you know, there's answers to get around that kind of stuff, right? Especially to like Protect plus Spore is so good when you're setting up a mon like Roaring Moon. More Heatran, dude, this mon, it's good. Heat Wave, Earth Power, Sub Protect. It's a relatively standard set. Heatran, it just feels so good into the metagame right now. Like, you look at a lot of these things. These Rillabooms are like, the other thing too is if you look at the Rillas, none of them are running Stomping Tantrum. No Stomping Tantrum there. I don't think this guy had Stomping Tantrum either, right? Yep, there's Stomping Tantrum, just double grass. Yeah, like, it really feels like, unless you're going up against a Landorus, there really just isn't any Stomping Tantrums. Like, is there no Stomping Tantrum here? Right? Yeah, dude, top 4 Rillabooms all just running Grass Stab, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, look, I really love Marco's team. This synergy is just, it's great. It's kind of like a bulky offense team that really just like kind of revolves around, you know, Amoonguss and Iron Hands, just putting, you know, the other 4 mons in positions to win the game. Obviously, you know, subbing with things like Fake Out and Spore is always great. You know, you've got the things like the Landorus, the Roaring Moon, the Flutter Mane to break. Iron Hands is just there with, you know, the Fake Out, the Volt switching, you know, the ability to, you know, to start like dropping mons, like, you know, it can just like, you know, Terra Water, eat things like Flutterfish, and then just like drop one of them, take a KO. So yeah, really cool team here by Marco. I really wish we got to see him, you know, go all the way. But alas, you know, no Roaring Moon winning a Regulation E tournament just yet. But Miguel's team here, boys. We thought we were finally done with it, but the Dozo, he's back again, getting the top 8. Really interesting team. So I do actually kind of want to touch on this. So obviously this is the standard Dozo set for those who don't know, which again is kind of why I think Fluttermane is so good right now. Obviously there's so many Rillaboom, so many Ogerpawns running around. Terra Dragon has once again become like the primary Terra on this one. You know, it's got Sub, Order Up, Earthquake, and Protect. Crazy to see no Wave Crash, but I guess when Manual Weather is so popular, I can kind of see it. You know, personally, the way I've been beating Dozo with my team is Sunny Day. And, you know, Sunny Day, Wave Crash, even at +2, does not do that much damage to anything that is not, like, weak to it. So, I do respect that there. But we have the ability, you know, the ability Shield Tatsugiri. Now, I was actually talking to the homie Luke about this, because at the local over the weekend, he did run a Wheezing team. And basically, you know, for those of you who don't know, basically, Wheezing turns off Commander. And there's nothing worse than having Dozo Tatsu on the board at the same time. And he can't really do anything. Like, Dozo without his +2 feels useless. And if you can't swap in the Tatsu, it doesn't feel that good. So Wheezing kind of just like, sorry, not Wheezing, Roaring Moon kind of just like laughs at it, right? Because you just like, you know, you knock off the Tatsugiri, you burn the Dondozo, and it just feels bad. So I do think Ability Shield is really good, because like, as much as this mon does love things, you know, like Choice Scarf and, you know, Focus Sash, you don't want to, you know, especially in such a long event, you don't want to lose a game in Top Cut to, you know, basically a Wheezing turning off your Dondozo counter or your combo, and then the game basically just ends. But look, obviously the rest of the team is, you know, a relatively standard, you know, core around the Dondozo though. You've got Glamora. Glamora plus Dozo, it's fantastic together. You basically, you Mortal Spin, you get down some Toxic Debris, and then you just protect Substall for the rest of the game and let the poison do its thing. Obviously, you know, you pair that with Fluttermane as well. Fluttermane's just a great breaker for the team. You know, it's just the one that puts out a lot of, you know, puts on a lot of pressure, gets a lot of kills quickly. And then basically he's just able to break holes for Dondozo to basically come in and finish the game. Exact same thing here with the Urshifu single strike. You know, he's got the Life Orb here. Its job is come in, get a quick KO, and then let Dondozo do the rest. And Tornado's kind of just, it wraps it up, right? You've got this team where it's like, hey, we need to just go and get a quick kill. And Tornado's is like, hey, I'm going to make sure we're the fastest guys on the board. I've got the Tailwind, you know, I've got the Icy Wind. We're always going first. We're hitting hard. We're breaking holes. And Dondozo's just going to finish it off. That is how it is. But yeah, it does suck that Dozo does make another appearance here, but look, it's a really, you know, really well-built team there. You know, seeing the ability shield does show, you know, that like Miguel's like, hey, I don't want to get cheesed by any freaking Wheezings. And then finally, the last top 8 team here is, I believe it's Maximies. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But we've got like a bit of a balance. I think you would consider, I'd call it a balance team. It's a balance team built around, you know, Snow. You got the Aurora Veil there. You got the loaded Dice Backs Caliber. You know, SD Scale Shot. You know, it sets good, man. He's got the Wellspring Ogerpawn here. Power Whip showing up again. This mon is like, it's just such a good redirection mon right now. Like Water Grass is such a good defensive typing. Water Absorb is fantastic, especially when you have mons like Landorus going up against, you know, the Urshifu Rapid Strikes. But then yeah, Landorus, I mean, we all kind of know what this guy does. He Scarf Terra Blasts you, and it doesn't feel good. King Gambit behind screens, you know, with fake out support is like insane. Even redirection support, like I think I've touched on it, you know, I think it was for Peoria. Gambit plus, you know, Water Ogerpawn, it feels so good, man. You just get up the SD, you redirect, and then you just start nuking everything. And like, you know, you go up against things like Landorus, you one-shot it. You go up against things like Hisuian Arcanine, you one-shot it. You kind of like force these mons to like run like defensive terrors, like, you know, Hisuian Arcanines are running like things like Terra Fairy just to live King Gambit. So yeah, that is, you know, it just shows how good the mon is, man. And then like AV Rillaboom, you know, you've got the Grassy Glide. Finally, we get to see someone here with high horsepower. I love high horsepower on this mon. I think, especially when you're going up against things like Heatran, even like, you know, King Gambit. that ground coverage, it's so valuable. Like, and it really does feel like Landorus is the only mon right now that is kind of running around with any ground stab. So it is nice to see that. But yeah, a really cool just like balanced team here, just built around like basically like screens, follow me, and then just like nuking teams, and you know, kind of pivoting around, getting up like your SDs and whatnot. So yeah, they're a really cool team there. I guess that is it for the top 8. Obviously, I'm not going to go like in depth on the rest of the teams here. We do see Eric Rios though coming in here with this, you know, Kaomu team here. Obviously, you know, Komoro plus Tita, you know, with the Hisuian Arcanine. It's a great combo. I played against it on the weekend. It is really hard to deal with if you don't have answers. Terra Psychic, just, you know, fantastic with Terra Blast. Really allows you to hit, like, you know, things like the Iron Hands and the Urshifus of the world. But one team I actually did want to touch on here before we jump into some stats here is the Guy Reiki VGC. Now, while I don't know if I've ever spoken to Reiki before, he is a friend of a good friend of mine, Mr. Jonzu. And this team really caught my eye. And that is the Landorus-I. Now, this team is, you know, I don't want to say it's like similar to my team, but I looked at the Landorus-I and I'm like, hey, I honestly think I could slap that mon on my team. You know, you look at this here, you know, he's got the Flutter Mane for speed control, which I also run. He's got the Ogerpon on the team. He's got the Hisuian Arcanine, you know, like this team, it's just cool. I would have loved to have seen him get top 8 with it. Like, I don't want to say it's like a standard team, you know, obviously he's got the booster Flutter Mane with the Icy Wind. I think that might be the first one we've seen today. You know, the Water Ogerpon, fantastic support. Standard Iron Hands here. Terra Grass, very interesting, but I guess he just wanted to make sure he didn't lose to a Mungus with this team. Obviously, you know, Banded, Terra Fairy, Hisuian Arcanine here. We touched on it earlier. You know, you've got the Dark Urshi. I think this mon is like very, very slept on still. I'm shocked at how little usage this mon still gets. But the Sash set here with Wicked Blow is broken. But then Lando-I, dude. Lando-I with Sludge Bomb Earth Power just feels so freaking good right now. You know, I was kind of touching on it before, right? Like, my team in particular, right? I always run into these issues of like Hisuian Arcanine just feels really good. And like, I think I touched on it at the start, you know, if you don't put your Urshifu in the right position, the game just feels really hard. And Landorus-I really just, it makes those matchups a lot better. You know, it's one with a base 101 speed. You know, you outspeed things like, you know, Chiyu, you force it to Terra. You outspeed and, you know, one-shot things like Landorus, force it to Terra. So not Landorus, Hisuian Arcanine. Like, there's a lot of ones this guy just, like, outspeeds and forces to Terra. Also, you know, pairing it, the Sludge Bomb into the Ogerpons is also really, really good. Especially with Terra Poison. Terra Poison, obviously, just a fantastic, you know, defensive type on this mon. But also giving you a stab Sludge Bomb, you know, you're going to one-shot the Ogerpons, which is fantastic. And obviously, when you pair that up with Icy Wind, you're always going to go first, as long as they're not in Tailwind. So yeah, Landorus-I think was a fantastic call for this metagame. And also having a fast taunt mon as well, I think is like awesome, especially when you pair it with Fake Out. You know, again, like I've personally been looking at a lot of lines with things like Blood Moon Ursaluna, especially, you know, when it's like Ursaluna plus Dusclops, right? Dusclops is a mon that does not want to get taunted. So when you pair it, you know, with things like Iron Hands with Fake Out, plus, you know, a taunt on the Landorus-I here, it does make it incredibly good. You can Fake Out its partner if you're going for something like, say, an Ogerpon redirection. Also, you know, really good into, you know, the Trick Room teams that have Iron Hands as their Trick Room, as their Fake Out one. Because you just run a little bit of speed on your Iron Hands, you Fake Out their Iron Hands, you get off the taunt, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're threatening one-shots on their Iron Hands, especially too when Iron Hands these days are running Assault Vest. So yeah, do keep that in mind. Sorry, not Assault Vest, I meant to say Terra Fire. Obviously they're running Assault Vest. But yeah, Landorus-I can really put a lot of pressure onto a lot of good teams, and I think that is just one of the best meta adaptations I've seen. It's definitely something I'm personally going to be testing. So yeah, shout out to Reiki for that one. Really, really cool. But yeah, guys, I mean, if you want, look, go through the rest of the teams here. They're all here. I feel like I say it every week as well, but go to Top Cut Explorer. You know, if you want stuff, look it up here. If there's a mon you want to see, you see Flutter Mane back on top. Landorus-I number 2, Hands number 3. Obviously, you know, the Ogerpon's getting really good usage still. Combined 170 games, so technically Ogerpon's still the number 1 used mon. But yeah, you see this Heatran on the rise. Urshifu Rapid is actually below Rillaboom, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, go here, guys, check it out. You know, obviously, unfortunately, there aren't, you know, EV spreads and whatnot. But if you guys do want EV spreads and whatnot, I guess you can always just ask me in the comments below. Especially, you know, if there's a particular mon you want an EV spread for, or, you know, a particular team you want to see, let me know. I'm always happy to do EV spreads. You can always join the Discord as well if you want to, I guess faster. Jump in there, it's like, hey, how would I EV these guys? And I'll give you guys some EVs. Now, guys, I know I have said this in, you know, previous videos. If you haven't already, go check out VGC data on Twitter. This is just a fantastic page, especially if you're a guy who like stats like myself. They've got a lot of great things. Obviously, you know, you see things like this, what they have on stream, which I do think is pretty important, especially when, you know, you're looking at, you know, I guess what's important, and basically seeing the drop off between, you know, day 1 and day 2, which I do think is very important because, you know, when you look at day 1 usage, right, for example, you see that, you know, the top 3 mons here all over 50%. But if we check out the day 2 usage, they all drop below 50%. As a matter of fact, you know, they're mid to low 40s. You also get to see things like, for example, you know, 2 of our favorite fire types here, Chiyu and Hisui and Arcanine, both end up falling off the board. We also see Urshifu Rapid Strike slide into the 4th spot, where here it is actually sitting in 7th. So yeah, very important just to, you know, take a look at these things and say like, hey, these mons on day 2 are getting better, and, you know, some mons are getting worse. Like, for example, Heatran, right, 24% usage on day 1. On day 2, it's up to 31%, meaning, hey, Heatran's actually probably a pretty good medical right now. So I do think, you know, looking at stuff like that is obviously really good. They also, you know, do breakdowns of what, you know, popular cores are. For example, as you see here, these are the 2 most popular teams we saw for the entire event. Obviously, this year is a very, very standard, you know, hyper offensive team, if you ask me. You got fake out support, you know, you got good priority between these 3 mons, and fantastic speed control between Tornadus, you know, most likely I believe on this team, they go Scarf Lando and Mystic Water or Life Orb Urshifu, and then obviously, you know, potentially Booster or Specs Floodamine. Pretty, you know, similar with this team here. This is a more like a balanced team where, you know, Iron Bundle is your speed control, but obviously, you know, mods like Heatran, Iron Hands, Rillaboom, just bulky. Same with Landorus, can you Intimidate support. This team's a bit more like bulky offense with speed control. You know, still running, you know, double fake out. You've got, you know, the Scarf here, the Booster Energy here, and then just good bulk plus offense here. Especially in this metagame, Fire feels good. You know, Fire hits a lot of things. Like on this team, the only thing Fire really isn't hitting is the Urshifu Rapid Strike. But in saying that, what is hitting the Urshifu Rapid Strike? You got Terra Blast, you got Wood Hammer, Freeze Dry, you know, Wild Charge, Grassy Glide. You got a lot of answers to it. But yeah, this is fantastic. You get to see what things, you know, are commonly paired with. You know, just see the common cores. Like this is like the most used core of 4 here, for example. And yeah, so on. You can always, it even goes down to like the most used combos, for example, which are, you know, not surprising. The 3 most used duos are the 3 most used mons in different orders. So yeah. But mainly, the main thing I'm here for is not this one. This is just usage stats. Lando was the #1 used mon. I do believe, by the way, these are day 2 stats, right? This is the top 128, I think, was the same for this one. No. Okay, that's not. So yeah, this here is just day 2. That's why Landorus is #1 and not Iron Hands. But then finally, we just get, you know, we get to see this one. This one here, I think, is really important to always look at, boys, because knowing what terras are good on what mons is very important, and trying to work out, I guess, why people are using it, right? Like, for example, Lando, Terra Flying, why? It's the best offensive type. Same with, you know, Floodamane with the Terra Fairy. We do see here Iron Hands actually slowly dropping Terra Fire and leaning more towards Terra Water. I do think that is very important to, you know, keep an eye on, because Terra Fire was seeming to be the, you know, the dominant typing. Obviously, you know, Ogerpon has to be water. Urshifu, he wants the offensive, you know, power. If not, there are a couple, you know, poisons here, obviously. Rillaboom, though, Terra Fire, it's the best. Terra Grass picking up quite a bit, though. Obviously, you know, we ran through why. That Grass Miracle Seed set is just a lot of freaking damage. We get to see, though, Heatran, Terra Fairy. Why is Fairy better than Grass, a lot of people might ask. It is really just to help out with the Urshifu matchups. Basically, you know, it kind of forces Urshifus to, you know, never click their CC. And, you know, in turn, they have to go for their Surging Strikes, which, you know, you kind of take. Another guy, though, here, Tornadus. Definitely interesting to see the spread here. Ghost is obviously fantastic, so you don't get faked out. Terra Flying gives you a bit more damage. Dragon is really good into the Ogerpawns, and Steel is probably just the best defensive Terra on this one, especially when you're running things like Rain Dance. But yeah, look, I'm not going to go too much into the rest of them. I'm sure you guys can look at it, you know, potentially figure it out. If you don't know why a certain Terra is used on a certain one, I guess just ask. Always happy to answer these questions. But yeah, very, very important, I guess, to always just, you know, make sure you're taking a look at these things, because I guess for me in particular, I think understanding why the best players are doing what they're doing really helps, you know, people with, you know, developing their own skills in the game, especially when, you know, you're trying to, you know, do things. You know, it could be as simple as just you want to get to Master Ball, you know, learning why these mods are good and why people are picking them over, you know, some random things. Like, for example, why is everyone running Rillaboom and Iron Hands as the fake out mods rather than something like, you know, Infernape or Weavile, for example. But yeah, anyway, you know, that's enough said for this event. I feel like I've been rambling on for, you know, pretty long at this point. If you guys got to this part, you know, obviously like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It means the world to me. Let me know what, you know, were kind of surprised with, you know, I guess at the Lille Regional here. And yeah, let me know what you see in the future. And also, let me know if there's any other team. Sorry, let me know which of these teams you want to see me build with in the coming days. I'll probably build one of the teams out. I'm thinking maybe of doing Reiki's just because, you know, he's the guy. But yeah, there's a lot of cool teams here. I kind of want to build one out, you know, do the spreads for it, and then kind of just test it in a best of 3 format. But yeah, anyway, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.